Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of True Scary Stories. First up we have Lumberjack Cowboy Gunman by Sad Practice 1951. When I was 13, I lived in a pretty sketchy city in New England. One of those places that was known by the entire state to be ghetto, and plagued with lots of drug and gang activity. However, I had moved there when I was 9, and by then it was 100% home to me. I loved it despite its reputation. Plus, since I never really caused any problems for anyone, I could get along with any given person I met. I had run-ins with some fairly dangerous people, who ended up becoming close friends because I really just enjoyed chatting it up with folks. To sum it up, I was naively confident in my safety around town. One night, I went into the local supermarket to grab some basics while my mom waited in the car. I had just gotten through the entrance and into the seasonal products section when I saw a man walk in. He stood out to me immediately, as he was extremely tall and stocky. I was a 5'7" girl at 13, so it wasn't like I was short, and the height seemed drastic in my brain. I was very used to guys 6 foot to even 6'5". This guy had to have been at least 6'8", and built like a linebacker. His outfit was weird too. He was wearing a red flannel shirt, which alone wouldn't be unusual for my region, but had added a giant cowboy hat, had locked eyes with me immediately, and I felt a cold chill. I tried to keep shopping as normal, but I felt him staring. I glanced back up to see him walking towards me. I walked further down the aisle, casually, to try and keep distance between us. I looked again to see him picking up his pace while still staring. At this point I was terrified because I knew I wasn't going crazy. This guy was definitely following me. I jogged down the rest of the aisle and turned. He started running after me. I felt so panicked that I abandoned my shopping basket and I left the store. I bolted across the parking lot and jumped in my mom's car. She asked what was wrong, and I told her that the store was just out of the stuff we needed. She didn't ask any further questions, and we drove home. The next afternoon, I had stepped into the school bus and started my walk home. It was about a 5-minute walk up a winding road to get to my apartment building from the bus stop. I made it to my place with no incident and went through my usual routine of having a nap, doing homework, etc. My mom came home around 6 from work and told me she had seen police at a house down the street. Apparently it had been robbed at gunpoint, and they were still looking for the guy. We were a little shook, but we tried to carry on with the night. Later, while we were watching TV in the living room, we saw police lights outside our window. It wasn't clear exactly what was going on. After about 15 minutes, a police officer knocked on our front door. He informed us that the man who committed the robbery down the road was found in the woods right outside our place. He had been sitting there for what they guessed was several hours, pointing his handgun at our window that looked directly into the living room where I was napping. I felt sick immediately and went to my room upstairs. We saw him on the news the next day. Lo and behold, it was the same man from the supermarket who had chased me. I broke down and told my mom the full story. I never felt quite the same sense of safety in my city afterwards. Lumberjack Cowboy Gunman. Let's never meet again. Story number 2 is To the Man Who Hunted Me Through Downtown Long Beach. Let's Not Meet Again by Prior Emu 5918. I'm still shaking while writing this, but I'm posting it as a warning to anyone walking alone at night. And honestly, as a reminder to trust your gut no matter what. 2 nights ago, I was walking by myself in downtown Long Beach. If you know the area, I was walking from the Pike to the Westin Hotel parking structure to get my car. The walk itself is 10 minutes. To give you some context, usually I am completely oblivious when I walk. I love walking and I love being by the beach. I always wear headphones with my music blasting, and I'm totally in my own world. I also usually wear heels when I dress up. I was wearing a beige leather dress that night, but because of how far the parking was, I decided at the last second to wear flat shoes. That single decision and the fact that I left my headphones off probably saved my life. I was about a block away from my car, crossing the street, when I noticed a man ranging from maybe a few years older to 10 years older, watching me. He crossed halfway into the street, and then abruptly doubled back to the exact same block I was on. I made a left turn at the corner. He went straight, and continued waiting for a while. I was close to nearing the edge of the block when I turned around, and I realized that the same man that doubled back was walking in the same direction as me, all the way down at the end of the block. I started to panic. I tried to duck into an entrance to get off the street, but I couldn't find my ticket in my purse, and even if I had, there was no way to get in. I was trapped outside. I kept walking and looked back. He had made a left and was closing the distance. Up ahead I saw 3 girls who looked like they were heading to a club. I didn't think twice. I just forced myself into their group and started walking with them. 4 of us, 1 of him. I pulled out my phone and called up the police because at this point, he had crossed the street and was right behind us. He still kept following us. We made a left turn, and the second we had a chance, the girls and I literally sprinted sideways across a sidewalk, so he couldn't catch up before the light changed. There was a bar right ahead, and we ran inside screaming for help. When the man walked past the bar, he didn't even look at me. He just kept walking straight like he hadn't just spent the last few blocks hunting me down. The absolute second his isolation and privacy were stripped away, he acted like nothing happened. I made it home safe and unharmed because of those 3 amazing girls, and because I happened to have flat shoes on and no headphones. If I had been at my usual baseline, BuzzFeed, deaf to my surroundings, and unable to run in heels, I don't even want to think about what he would have done to me when I got stuck at that locked entrance. Please trust your instincts. If someone feels like they are tracking you, they are. Don't worry about being polite. Make a scene, find a crowd, and don't stop running until you're safe. Also, just to add, if you are someone who does like to listen to music podcasts or handsome YouTubers who narrate stories while you're walking along at night, invest in a pair of headphones that have something called pass-through. Essentially, just lets in the surrounding noise while you can still hear all that good stuff. No reason you should have to completely change your life just because there's creeps out there. Okay. Story number 3, final story for this video, is Waiting to Smoke Possibly Saved My Life by Silverbid4499. Around 2 years ago, my friend Jenny decided to throw a party for her birthday. She had not celebrated her birthday in many years and was really excited to do so again. Something important to know about Jenny is that she was in active addiction at this time. It was all kinds of different drugs. I think it mostly depended on whatever she could get at the time, but it was bad. She is a lovely person, and doing very well right now, but I do think that her drug use was one of the reasons why this all went so wrong. Her friend circle consisted mostly of people she used with. She had a few good and close friends, but not a lot. A week before the party, I asked her how many people she had invited. She said around 80. I don't even think I know 80 people. I'm not even sure I know 20 people. I laughed and asked her why so many. She said, "Well, I also invited people that I don't know really well, but they're chill." This was already kind of a red flag for me. That night, I had another party before hers, so I was decently tipsy. I knew that the other party would mostly be people that I did not know on hard drugs, which I had never done and had no experience with at the time. So I needed some liquid courage. I went with my friend Noah. She had rented a small venue to fit all the people. It was pretty much an abandoned lot on a very quiet street. There were almost no houses, only a few factories. The layout is pretty important to know. Basically, you had the entrance with a tiny yard for people to smoke. Then you had to enter the building and go up the stairs to get to a living room and kitchen type area, and next to that was a small room with a DJ. Everything was fine at the beginning. I did have a lot of fun, Around 1 a.m. there was a small fight. I didn't witness it, but I was told immediately after. Apparently there were 4 guys who tried to get in, but only one of them was actually invited. They were told to leave by some of the guys, and when they didn't, there was a small fight. Nothing noteworthy, I thought then. I asked Noah if he wanted to go out for a smoke. He said that he'd finish his conversation, and then we could go together. A little while later, we walked out of the kitchen and towards the stairs. But there were like 6 people bundled up at the top of the stairs. Instinctively, I took a step back. I was just turning around to Noah with this what-the-fuck look when we heard people screaming and glass shattering. All the people who were standing in front of us jumped back, and so did we. There was more screaming and people stumbling on the stairs. I then saw Oliver, one of the few people I knew at that party, walking up the stairs. Head covered in blood. Another guy I knew by face with a bleeding nose, and my friend Jason grasping his shoulder, his girlfriend behind him. Earlier that evening I stupidly and drunkenly fell on the cement with both knees scraping them open. But because of that I knew where the first aid kit was. I never have any issues with blood. I can't handle other bodily fluids, but when someone is bleeding I can help them, no problem. I saw Oliver go into the kitchen, and I wanted to go after him to help him. Now, this is about to get kinda gross, but bear with me. I saw Oliver had something stuck in his forehead. Because I heard the glass shattering, I assumed it was glass. But when I got closer, I saw that it was a piece of his skull sticking out of his forehead. That was too much for me. Instantly sober, I promptly turned around and went into another room. He was surrounded by a lot of people, though, and 911 was called immediately. Excellent. Turns out that those guys who were rejected from the party came back with 30 other guys. Well, they took it well then, carrying bats and steel pipes. They just started hitting the first people they saw, and they left as quickly as they came. The whole attack lasted no more than 30 seconds. I found my friend Jason still grasping his shoulder. He and his girlfriend were closest to the entrance of the property, so they were attacked first. Yes, these cowards did indeed beat up women. They did not care at all. Jason's shoulder was dislocated. Luckily, his girlfriend wasn't too wounded. Police and an ambulance arrived pretty quickly. Oliver was taken to the hospital and luckily made a full recovery after surgery. My friend Jenny was in hysterics because of what happened and because of whatever was in her system. The cops were no help. At one point they yelled at her because she was too upset to form a complete sentence. Bang-up job. They left after a while, and so did most of the people. Noah and I were still there. We tried to help wherever we could. I was still in shock and kind of numb. But what snapped me out of my daze was seeing people scrubbing the blood covering the staircase. There was nothing more I could do there, and more importantly, I wanted to go home. Noah went with me, and we stayed up for hours talking and processing everything. To think that if we had decided to go smoke even a minute sooner, or if Noah wasn't having that one conversation, we would have been in the middle of this all. It would also have been a very real possibility that these guys had guns or knives. We lived in a pretty rough area, which is even more terrifying to think about. Hands down, the worst party I've ever been to. So yeah, to those guys who ruined my friend's party, let's not meet again. That brings us to the end of today's video. It is a bit of a short one, but it is also a warm day. Cooler downstairs, though. Big thanks to everyone who allowed me to use their stories. If you'd like to support the channel, you can sign up for my Patreon page, which is linked in the description. $1 or more a month gets you early access to all the videos at once on Monday. There's also a link to my merchandise store over on Teespring, as well as my Discord server, my Threads account, and my email is kingofthecities@gmail.com if you need to contact me for anything. Sending in a story, shout-out request, or any business-related inquiries. I am hireable. For voice work, not for anything. I'm not going to decorate your house. I was asked that once randomly by a woman that lives in one of the adjacent streets. My father used to help out folks, and a little bit of money, basically a bargain price for the kind of work he did, because he was quite good at it. Wasn't his professional job, but, as I've mentioned before, I was raised by parents that taught you you should learn how to do certain things. Decorating your own place was one of them. And so now and again he'd help folks out, and he had done work for this woman in the past. So after my father had passed away, she accosted me on the street one day. Alright, maybe that's too harsh a word. She approached me on the street one day asking me if I would do her decorating. I said, "Oh, no. That was my father's thing. I only do my own." Because I know if I'd... firstly, I had no interest in doing that. I'm not a big fan of decorating. But I did do it with my dad to help him out, because, it's bonding things, fathers and sons, and possibly some daughters, but fathers and sons do it together. That was my way of spending time with my dad whenever there was work like that to be done. But I only do my own when I have to, for my own sake, which actually reminds me, I will need to get paint for this room soon. I've decided I will be happy with it green. I just need to find a shade of green that I both like and works as a green screen, because I have plans, mysterious plans, for the future. Okay, that's everything for now, so until next time, thank you very much for watching, and take very good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.